Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense. And today, we have a little something different. We have a discussion between a Democrat and a Republican. This is not a boxing match. And they're very, very civil people. Thank God, I've already talked to them. And we're going to discuss the issues right now as it stands, sort of with 5 weeks or so to go. And I have Tony Carbonetti. Tony was chief of staff to a mayor of New York City. He was
long time ago, it seems. Very excellent mayor, though. We should have that guy back.
But beyond that, Tony is in business now, and Tony is, in my view, one of the best political minds anywhere.
Thank you.
And I have Skye Ostreicher, who is a Democrat, but is married to a Trump supporter. Wow. She must be she should be settling peace problems all over the world.
Compromise.
And Skye was an executive director at the Nicholas Lentz firm, and she was worked on the Bloomberg campaign, which had her with the other really great mayor of New York. So there you go. Not quite what it is today.
Great to be here, Mayor.
Right.
I tried to invite someone who would say anything good about Bill de Blasio, and no one would come, including his family.
Charlene wouldn't come?
Nobody would come. I invite people onto my show. I will give them 2 minutes anytime to say something good about him. I will not interrupt. I haven't got anybody yet. He is a source of bipartisan agreement.
Yes.
Only one.
He brings people together.
So I thought we'd start this way. Campaigns get decided by a lot of things. Probably the only thing we ever understand are issues. I guess personalities do.
Right.
So I'd like each of you, just to start off with, to tell me, and then we'll discuss it, what you think is the most important issue, Skye, and then what you think is the most important issue. And we'll discuss where the two candidates are on it.
I do think that this Supreme Court justice issue will be something that goes into voters' minds to decide who they're going to vote for. But as a Manhattan resident, I see crime, and I think of safety and security, and I see it in our city, and I see it on the news in all the other major cities having these issues. So that's top of mind for me.
And so the others would be, well, you tell me what you think, Tony.
Yeah, I think
it's either right now or by the time they get to the end.
Right. People always vote their own personal circumstances. If we were having this conversation in January, I think we would have all agreed Trump had the economy humming. Things are going well. How are you going to beat this guy? Now, I keep saying there's 7 states that he needs to win. It's Texas, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. If he gets those 7 states, he's at 272 electoral votes, just barely over the hump. You can lose Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin, Maine 2, if you win those 7 states. The problem I have with those 7 states now is because of COVID, there's 9.5 million unemployed people.
Right.
And the fact that people vote their own circumstances, you have to convince those people that the economy is going to come back. They're going to get their jobs back. So I think jobs in the economy are going to be the number one.
You think as we sit here in late September, fairly late September, before the first debate, you think that's the main issue right now on people's minds? Or you think that's going to be the main issue?
I think at the end of the day, when you go into that ballot box, that's always your issue. And I think that's why Trump is out doing these rallies, because as you've said so many times before, you have to be the cheerleader. You have to tell people, might not be great right now, but remember, we were there before this happened, and we can get there again. Okay, if I give you no hope, why are you voting for me?
So,
Right.
you would say the economy, and
Yes.
you would say
Well, now I think the
Public
economy
safety.
too. It's true. All these are issues, right?
Yeah.
It's public safety. It's the Supreme
Right,
Court.
it's your own
justice,
personal situation.
It's the economic situation, of course.
it might have changed where you live. For example, if I live in New York also, obviously, and probably it's true that crime is the number one, public safety in general is the number one issue because there's been such a dramatic change.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if I lived in Minnesota, it would be because I would see what happened
Right.
to my favorite city, Minneapolis, right? Mm-hmm. But if you live, and places unaffected by it, and maybe then it changes. Might have something with local circumstances too.
Yeah.
The crime issue, but that doesn't change the unemployment issue.
Right.
You know, I have traveled a little during this, and you go into an airport, and the Hudson News and the bagel guy are the only guys open. You walk by stores that are just empty. Those are people. Those are jobs.
Yeah.
Okay? The airline industry, those are jobs. You know, people want to go to work. They don't want to sit home and wait for the government to send them a check.
So, how is the Biden campaign going? How do you feel? Do you feel it's been successful? That it's been successful to get across what they want to get across?
Well, I feel that people want to be inspired by a candidate. You want to hear them talk. You want to hear what they have to say. You want to get a sense of their personality. And with our current president, we've seen a lot of that. And sitting home with my Republican husband, as you mentioned, we watch C-SPAN every night so that we can catch every Trump rally.
Right.
So I haven't seen a lot of Biden speaking, and I would like to see more of that. And I think a lot of people are saying he may win the first debate, because that oftentimes happens. So we'll see what he has to say.
Well, the advantage he has two advantages on the first debate. Almost always the challenger against an incumbent wins because the president is rusty. And the challenge of just being able to stand up with the president and not making a mistake gets him to win. On the other hand, Trump is not, Trump never stopped campaigning, I guess is the way to put it. And I think these rallies are done, and all that questioning he goes through to prepare, so he's not rusty. But expectation may have something to do with it. I mean, basically, Trump has made it clear that he believes that Biden is mentally defective. Is that a good idea?
Well, he's hiding in a basement.
At least before the debate.
So before the debate, no. You always want to. You want to say, I'm fighting the toughest guy in the whole world.
Gosh, I thought you were going to remember a chapter.
Okay.
Under promise and over deliver.
Exactly. Well, that's the same thing. You want to say, he's great. If I can hold my own, I'll be okay.
He did that with Hillary.
Okay. He did that with Hillary.
And of course, that was plausible with Hillary because she was never known as a great debater, but she was never known as a poor debater either.
I mean, I think they're lowering the bar too much for Biden.
Do too.
I think as long as he doesn't, just trip over himself, they're going to say he had a great debate.
Right.
And that's not the case because he has not been out there answering questions. He has not been out there talking to people like the president has. And I think the one thing that you should instill in the president is, when was the last time he answered a question in less than 2 minutes?
I remember getting him to do that last time. He can do
That's why presidents lose, because
go back and look.
They got to discipline themselves.
Go back and look at the last 3 debates that he had with Hillary, and you'll see he was remarkably disciplined.
Yeah, because at that point he's in fighting shape.
Yeah.
Since he became president, no one interrupts you anymore.
The thing about Donald Trump is he knows how to perform. He knows how to. He knows. It's a different Donald Trump when he's giving remarks in the White House than the Donald Trump who gives remarks in front of 10,000 people, which almost resembles a stand-up comedy act.
Right.
I've told him he should once he finishes being president, hopefully in 4 years, he should do that once a week. I mean, it's one of the best entertainments on television.
It is entertaining.
Including the invitations.
Give him that.
So let's say Biden wins the first debate. I don't say that he is. I probably think, because I've seen him perform in 3 debates, I think he's going to win. Because he doesn't lose. I mean, he finds a way to win. He'll do something, and if it's not going well, he'll know it, and he'll find a way to win. But let's say he does lose, which is the historical pattern.
He continues the stay home and hide strategy, I guess.
No, I think he'll want to come out. He'll feel on a high horse, having won, and he'll feel more confident, and maybe we will hear more from him.
And now we'll take a short break. How bad is it? Your back, knee, or neck pain? My knee pain was awful. I probably tried the same things you're trying to manage your pain. Topical ointments, pain relievers, fish oil, but nothing worked. Then I tried Omega XL. And here's why. The underlying cause of painful, achy joints and muscles is inflammation. The key is to knock down inflammation before it causes permanent damage. Backed by 35 years of research, that's exactly what Omega XL does. Nothing comes close to doing what Omega XL does. There's nothing like it. If you're suffering with painful, achy joints and muscles, stop wasting money and switch to Omega XL. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle free. Visit omegaxl.com/Rudy. That's omegaxl.com/Rudy or call 1-800-844-4888. 800-844-4888. Welcome back. This is probably not a question, but an opinion. His mistakes are not the ordinary mistakes. If you look at Biden 5 years ago and you look at Biden today, which I did on one of my podcasts, it's a different man. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was talk quickly. He was very glib. Personally, my opinion, I've always thought he was dumb. But now, I mean, the most recent one is he couldn't remember the Pledge of Allegiance.
There's an issue.
There's something wrong with him,
Yes.
I think. Now, does he get away with it, or does he have to take a test, or?
He gets away with it. But if you want to do the drug test, has that ever been done before?
No, it's never been done before, and I'm not even thinking of a drug test. I'm thinking of one of those tests to determine if he has dementia.
Test?
I mean,
A cognitive test.
Sure, he's gotten the preamble of the Constitution wrong about 4 weeks ago. You know, we the people in order to form, that thing. Then he began the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the United States, left out the flag, and then forgot the rest of it. That's pretty serious stuff. That isn't even I'm in Vermont, but I think I'm in New Hampshire. That can happen.
Right.
That can happen to anybody when you're campaigning like that. In fact, Trump may be the only one it hasn't happened to. And it will one of these days. You better watch out.
Sure. Well,
is that going to be that? I guess that's not an issue, right?
No, do we really want to focus on that? It's like the minutia. If someone misspeaks, I'm sure you've misspoken, and certainly our president
there's a
has
difference between
misspoken.
misspeaking, though, and not remembering. We all have so many issues in our minds, maybe statistics or whatever, and everyone misspeaks. He's having, you're right, real issues that would worry people. I mean, I could absolutely see it being worrisome.
Well, dementia is a disease that gets worse and never gets better. You can hold it off. You can't stop it. He's 77.
Has he released medical records? Or?
No, neither. Well, the president has that 2-page that says he's the healthiest person in America.
Right, the healthiest.
we need Howard Cosell. Remember
Oh, by the way, he looks like he is. But.
Remember when Howard Cosell told Muhammad Ali that he's not the same before he fought Foreman?
Yeah.
You're not the same guy you were 5 years ago?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that? That's what we need.
So what do you think, what do you think the ultimate result is going to be?
Who's going to win?
Yeah, who's going to win? Because I'm going to have you back in a few weeks and we'll see where it stands then. I'm going to ask it 2 ways. Who would win if the election were held right now? And who do you think is going to win in November?
It's really hard to say. I don't know.
Is it different? Would the answer be different now and what is it, 5 weeks from now?
Yeah, the answer will be different because we'll see. We're going to see some debate.
So if it were happening right now, what's your instinct tell you about the mood of the country? Now, granted, we're mostly in New York, but you from television, you get a sense of the mood.
I
of the
mean,
country.
from watching the Trump rallies, I would say Trump's going to win.
Right.
But seeing like my own social media feed as the fashionable Democrat, I have a lot of Democratic followers and people I engage with, and I see that the time seems ripe that people are looking for a Democratic alternative, especially there's a big chunk of progressives here in the city. So we see a lot of that here, but I don't see a lot of it on Long Island, for example, where I'm from. There aren't as much progressives. Everyone's pretty moderate.
Have the Democrats gone too far?
To the left.
I mean, have they
A
gone
lot of
too
them
far?
have.
Have they gone? Have they
Yes.
allowed themselves to be defined too far to the left?
A lot of them have. Not all of them, but a lot of them certainly
And what
have.
happens to a more middle of the road Democrat when they see we're in favor of 70% tax?
What do? I mean, people are still registered as a Democrat. Take myself. I'm not a progressive and I'm not a liberal super to the left, but I see myself as a moderate and I try to come to bipartisan conclusions and compromise. And I see certain issues on the right side of the aisle and some on the left. So I'll vote for Biden.
Right.
because one of the issues that sticks out in my mind as a woman is this Supreme Court justice issue and a woman's right to choose. And I think if that's going to be jeopardized, then I'll be, vote on that one issue.
As we sit here today, it looks like they have the votes to get it done, with Romney saying yes and Cory Gardner saying yes. There'll be two, Murkowski and Collins. Mm-hmm. They actually now have modified a little, and they now say they think they're going to vote no. Originally, they said they were going to vote no. So just my feeling is, unless something goes wrong with the candidate, he'll do it before Election Day.
It's his job.
So does it help him or hurt him if he does it? I'll let you.
I think it helps him because he's able to say, I'm doing the job I was elected to do.
But
I think it helps him.
But he does do what Skye says. He reminds women in the suburbs where he's got to pick up some votes that he's pro-life. They would regard that as anti-choice.
Again, Roe v. Wade, if it gets overturned, it just goes back to the states.
But nobody ever. I agree with you. Legally, you're absolutely right. It isn't as big a change as people think it is.
Right.
If Roe against Wade is out, then abortion is still legal in New York.
Right.
Correct.
But politically, it doesn't play out that way. It's an emotional issue on either side.
Right. Correct.
I have daughters.
As we learned, I tried very often to describe my complex position on it, and it just becomes, one or the other. You're either pro-choice, you're pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
I have young daughters, and in having this conversation with them, they didn't understand that as well. They thought if Roe v. Wade was overturned, abortion becomes illegal. And I said, no, it just goes to the states. And then they had a problem with, well, in Alabama, I said, but why do you care if the people of Alabama want to vote to outlaw it? Shouldn't that be their right?
We're all in this together.
That's exactly right.
We're all in this together.
So I can't tell them how to live.
Would you disagree with that, Skye?
Well, I think that
it's
an
a fundamental
emotional
right that Alabama.
Yes, I care about my sisters in Alabama. I want them to have access to abortion, and I want it to be safe and legal for them.
So that's really the issue is it a fundamental right? Like, for example, Alabama can't pass a law to take away your right of free speech.
Correct.
So if this is, and Roe against Wade made it a fundamental right and wrote it into the Constitution. The question is, would the new justice, there are at least three that I can think of. Thomas, I guess the two new justices, we're not absolutely certain what they would do.
Right.
But there are at least three votes against.
I don't think anyone's going to touch it. I don't think they'll touch it.
Before the election, they're not going to do it.
No, but even afterwards, I think everyone's going to say.
So you think
we've been living with it for the last 60, 50 plus years.
Even if they put a very religious Catholic, of which 4 or 5 of those candidates are very religious Catholics, even if they put someone on, they'll
I think it'll change the votes that come about timing, not about the actual action of abortion. There'll be, trimester, those votes will change, but no one's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, I don't believe.
So on balance, although he's going to lose women who are pro-choice because he's going to highlight it, you think he gains for being a guy who keeps his word?
Yes.
And it excites his base?
Yes. And I think he may lose the popular vote by more than he did last time.
Which is 3 million.
Okay. But it's all
That's
New
a
York.
Big number.
It's all New York and California.
That's
it's
one
two
of the,
states.
That's one of the things that's very, very strange because
it's 2 states.
I think someone told me if you actually just take New York City out,
I think New York City was $1.5 million.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then
It's New York State and California. If you take those out,
well, then he wins.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So 3 weeks ago, I thought he was in a lot of trouble. I think he's gained a lot of momentum.
I remember you called me.
Yeah. I think the rallies are good for him. I think exciting his base is good for him. And I think no matter what he does, New York and California is going to hate him. You get the tweets.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it.
But back to your initial
They love
question,
to hate him.
I think if he chooses a pro-life Supreme Court justice, then he'll lose a lot of votes from women.
He'll lose New York and California by more.
Right. So what, then will he still win, you're saying? Or
Yeah,
no?
because you can only lose New York and California by, doesn't matter how many votes they get. If he wins the 7 states I'm talking about, and he's going to do
Well, that's
that.
certainly his calculation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how much this is a constitutional duty, and ultimately, when you're running for office, as we know, it's a little too close right now not to make a political calculation. So the White House must have calculated, to be right or wrong, that this is going to excite their base.
Yeah.
And I happen to think one of the reasons for that is the last 2 times this issue came up, it helped Republicans. Like when they went after Kavanaugh too heavily, a lot of people feel that the Democrats lost the Senate. They were on their way to winning the Senate, and they can point to 4 seats that were heavily affected by that. But that was a situation where they went, wasn't so much the issue, people got disgusted with how
Personal life.
personal it got.
Sure.
I don't think that'll happen here. It would be stupid for it to happen here.
That was nuts, the whole Kavanaugh thing.
No, I mean, if I were a Democrat, even though I was opposed to it, I just let them go through and then argue it to the electorate,
Right.
like you're saying.
Right.
Try to turn off the women.
So the question is she qualified? The answer is yes.
Oh my God! Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Coney Barrett, they are. I mean, she's super qualified.
So, and she passed
Just like
the Senate
Ginsburg
already.
was.
Right.
And now we will take a short break. I couldn't believe we were evicted from our home that we didn't even sell. Those are the words of a homeowner, Deborah, when she learned she was the victim of home title fraud. It's a devastating crime that can cost you your home. And title fraud is not covered by insurance or common identity theft services. The only folks to trust that I know of to protect your home's title is Home Title Lock. Cyber thieves have discovered the titles to our homes are kept online. They forge your name on your deed stating you sold your home, and they refile as the new owner. In Deborah's case, she didn't even know she was a victim until the eviction notice arrived in her mail. Home Title Lock protects you and your home by putting a virtual barrier around your home's title. The instant they detect tampering, they mobilize to shut it down. Go online to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim and don't know it. Then use code RUDY, that's me, and sign up for 30 free days of protection. That's code RUDY at HometitleLock.com. Welcome back. You hear Lindsey Graham saying this, about the only one who ever says it, but it's been my position forever. It used to be everybody's position. The president gets his or her choices, unless the person's unqualified or totally nuts.
Right.
So the standard for a justice is not, do I agree with their political philosophy? The standard is this a capable justice? For that reason, I supported Ginsburg when she was nominated.
And Lindsay voted for Kagan and Sotomayor.
And I supported both of them.
So
But everyone's threshold of nuts is a little different.
Right. So if Biden were to be elected and he put
AOC.
well, I might say no to that because I think she's ignorant. But no, I think she doesn't have a brain.
Is she on
You
his
gotta have
list?
a brain.
Is she on his list?
I don't think she'd pass a bar exam.
Don't have to be a lawyer.
I know, but it's not going to happen. You're not going to put a non-lawyer on, not
But
nowadays.
I want to hear him say she's not qualified.
He won't say it.
Of course not.
So now how do you deal with that? You do have, in the Democrat Party, you got a couple of, I mean, they almost seem like they're communists, sir.
I mean, I work on the local level.
Anti-Israel, horrible things about Israel. How do you deal with that?
So locally, I'm involved in the Lexington Democratic Club, and we have a whole bunch of different types
tell us
of
what the Lexington
members.
Democratic Club is.
It's in Manhattan. It's
Right.
most of Midtown Manhattan. It's
Right.
the largest political club in the city, and
Right.
we're in Midtown Manhattan. It's the 73rd Assembly District. Dan Court is in charge of the club, and Carolyn Maloney are some of the leaders of the club. But most of our members skew a little older, and some of the new members are coming in. But you are seeing a lot of younger people. I'm a millennial. It's my generation and the generation
Could
after
you define
me.
that?
Millennial?
What's a millennial? I always get confused.
Well, you're born between 1980 and 2000.
So I'm a dinosaur. What are you?
I'm a pre-dinosaur. No, I'm a post-dinosaur.
But the next group
yes.
right after dinosaurs?
Yes.
But so the millennials and the Gen Zs, which is the next generation.
Oh, yeah, the Gen Zs. Yeah.
There are a lot of progressives you're seeing. So in the club, we haven't been very active on the ground, but we stay active virtually, and that's very different.
So now are most of them like way, excuse the expressions, the only way I can do it. Most of them way out Democrats, or are most of them more grounded Democrats.
You see a little bit of everything, right? Not just in my political club, but on the internet and with my colleagues.
Well, on the internet, I mean, you got a
In
bunch of whack
Manhattan,
jobs too.
I know there's a whole.
On all sides.
It's all.
I actually have a
Yeah.
good question that's going to be relevant. Has the Board of Elections
In other
actually
words, I haven't
figured
been
out?
asking relevant questions.
No, relevant coming up soon. Has the Board of Elections actually figured out if Carolyn Maloney won yet?
I know the president gave her a hard time. Of
No,
course she
but
won.
they took forever.
I don't mind her winning. I
So-
prefer her.
I'm just saying.
You said, did she really win?
No, the count. I mean, this is going to
Well,
take.
why? Why
forever.
would it just a little? I count about 10 votes. It's a little district.
It's hard with these absentee ballots, right? And everyone from the district moved out of the district for the election.
So I got to get you to make just a choice because
Okay.
we're going to have you back and you're going to do it again. And then after it's over, I'll give somebody
Trump.
If
prize.
if Trump wins, I'll give you a Trumpy bear. And if
He
if Biden
wins-
wins, I'll give you a Biden bear.
He
Okay.
wins with under 300 electoral votes and loses the popular vote.
What did he win last time?
303?
So he's going to win by less than he won last time.
Yes.
And why? What state do you see turning on him?
Michigan.
You don't see him picking up any that would make up for that.
No. Needs to hold what he had. I think he's going to lose Michigan. Possibly, I mean, Iowa's in play, but I don't see him winning the Rust Belt in the same way he did last time.
But he'll win Ohio.
When Ohio, win Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, I believe he's much stronger in Pennsylvania than people believe. They think that's a tough state because he's the first Republican to win it in a long, long time. But it's basically a gun, coal, steel. They're still bitter about the Democrats' trade deals, and they were all Democrats at one time. And then believe it or not, outside of Philadelphia, it's a pro-life state.
That's what I was going to say.
Very religious state.
Pro-life Democrats.
Because it's the only place in the whole country where you elect a pro-life Democrat.
So that Supreme Court seat might help him there.
It will help him. Supreme Court seat will drive it up about 10%. Drive up his turnout by 10%. So now what? So you say Trump loses the popular, wins the electoral, but by a narrower margin.
Correct.
That's your opinion right now.
That's my opinion
Write
right
that
now.
down, Christiani. Write that down. We got him on record for that. I know you guys should put up something too. I'm going to give you a beautiful Trumpy bear.
I get a Trump.
I'll give you the Sleepy Joe bag.
Aw.
No. It's a nice bear. It's a respectful bear. So now, what do you think?
Well, I'll say Biden wins, but as far as which state and the minutia and the electoral votes, I don't know.
You think
those
he wins
details,
close?
But we'll say
If he wins,
I
wins
think
close?
it'll be a close election, but we'll say Biden wins.
Okay, now, do you know you just told me we're not going to have a result on Election Day if either one of them wins close?
I think that's right, and that's why
Correct.
I brought up the Carolyn Maloney issue.
In fact, how are we even going to know that somebody won close?
We won't.
If the state would have to be almost beyond the realistic number of votes that could be in the mail, right? You'd have to win by maybe 10%. Not going to be too many 10% states, except maybe the South for Trump and the coast for him. You could put those aside, but I mean, even Texas might be within 10 points.
Right.
And they'll be counting absentee ballots by hand
Till
for
Christmas.
And they'll be cheating.
I mean, you've seen those rooms.
Oh, I know they cheat.
Okay.
Florida is the easiest one to pick out. And in this election, they may do it anyway. Florida reports very quickly if it's a 5% or more election.
Right.
If it's not a 5% or more election, for some reason, the votes in Broward and in Palm Beach County
Take a long
take 2 weeks to
time.
count because they feel within 2% they can steal the election. You go beyond 2%, you're taking too much of a risk. And last time, after it was over, they found a whole bunch of ballots in a truck somewhere in Jacksonville.
Well, now you're going to send out ballots to. So if you have a nursing home with 500 residents, there's one mailroom. Does that mailroom get 500 ballots?
As opposed to what?
I mean, if they're collecting the mail for everyone in the nursing home,
So should those votes have been counted? Should those votes be counted before Election Day?
then it's going to leak out. Results will leak out.
Yeah.
How do they typically do it? Would you
No,
count?
no, they
absentee
wait till-
They
ballots?
wait till
You
election day.
So I mean,
Wait till
we
Election
didn't.
Day.
There were no mail-in ballots before this. There were absentee ballots. An absentee ballot is. I mean, I've voted absentee a lot because I travel. And an absentee ballot, you have to request it.
Right.
So if I believe I'm going to be away on election day, I request it, I get it, I sign it, I seal it,
Right.
I sign it on the outside,
Yep.
seal it again, so you don't know it's my vote, but you don't know who I voted for,
Right.
and then it gets counted after the election.
After
So what
the
they're
election.
supposed to do is
And I have up until when the day of the election to send it in. No,
some states are postmarked by
New York-
election day, and some have to be arrived by election day,
that's right.
depending what the state is.
That's New York.
So here,
It has to be there by
what
election.
they would do then is your ballot would come in. There'd be a Republican and a Democratic lawyer there,
And explain what they do.
and
It's really a lot of fun.
they would say, "Okay, Rudolph W. Giuliani." They'd give you your address.
Slightest little mistake.
Well, the Republican would say, "I have no objection," because they would check to see you're a registered Republican. The Democrat would say, "I want to see if he voted on election day." Then they would check the roll to see if you voted on election day.
Mm-hmm.
If you did not vote, they slice it open. That's where the other ballot is, which doesn't have your name on it, and it goes into the pile to be counted at some point.
Right.
Then they go to the next one, and they do
That's
that
why it takes so
process.
long
Each
because
one, right,
yes.
in
I
a close
know.
one, the Republican
Then-
and the Democrat are going to be objecting, like you remember 20 years ago with the
Hanging
Chads.
chads. Well, then when they open up the other envelope,
Was it punched
it's
out?
where did you mark it? Did you mark it properly? That's in the other envelope.
Right.
And that's where they start debating.
So-
the X is here.
Okay, so Trump and Biden, and therefore you're also telling me it's going to be a protracted. We're not going to have a winner until at least December,
Correct.
and it's going to go to court.
When's the Electoral College? It's the second week of December?
Yeah, like 13th or so.
Right, so they have to have it together by then, you would hope.
And if they don't, it goes to the House of Representatives. And it goes to the House of Representatives for the new Congress.
Correct.
Right now, if it went to the House of Representatives, the Republicans have a three vote edge because you vote by delegation. Now, Republicans will lose those delegations.
Can the electors delay?
No, the electors have to have a candidate that day. If they don't have a candidate that day, boom, goes right to the House of Representatives.
Right.
And then the new Congress gets to select, not the old. So the old Congress right now, I believe there's a 3 or 4 vote. You vote by delegation. So this one
Right.
becomes really interesting. Little New Hampshire or Vermont has the same vote as big California.
You need 26 states.
And right now, Republicans have something like 28 or
And
29.
But by the way, they can pick anyone, right? They're not limited to the 2 candidates.
Oh, we're getting into really great
Oh, yeah.
American history. You could pick me or you, or you.
Right.
All of a sudden, you get a call. Tony, you just.
Yep.
Last question. What's going to happen to the black vote? He is making the strongest appeal for the black vote than any Republicans ever made. Republicans have made it in appeals before. I'm not saying they haven't, but it isn't the same. I mean, he's really investing money in advertising, and so how realistic is that for him to get? What did he get? 5% last time?
I think he does better. I think if he continues doing what he's doing now with the going out and telling people, I've done it before, reminding them what January was like, he will do better in both black and Hispanic votes.
He is doing better in Hispanic votes.
Yes.
I mean, that's almost.
But he's got to
polls count for
remind
anything.
them what January was like, because things were good. If we were having this conversation, everyone would say it's right in his sweet spot. The country's humming along.
So, what do you think? Does Biden take the black vote to the extent Hillary did, for example? Does he get the same margin that Hillary did, which was down a lot from Obama? You can't expect anybody to get Obama's vote, but does he get at least a Hillary vote, or does it come down a little?
I hope it's stronger.
But what do you think?
But we'll see. You're right. People have to recall what the world was like before the virus, life before the virus, and a
If
lot
they
of
don't,
people
Trump's
have
in trouble.
forgotten.
So the real on the economy, the real issue is Biden has to be saying, look at the terrible economy he's given us, and he's got to be saying, look at the great economy I gave you, look what the pandemic did to it, look how fast I've brought it back,
Right.
and who do you think is better suited to bring it back the rest of the way?
Right.
Very interesting.
That's where we are.
And you think that'll decide the election more than anything else, unless
100%.
something, God forbid, goes really wrong.
There's still too many unemployed people sitting at home knowing they could be working.
Right.
They were working, and they want to work.
Well, we're going to get you back, and we're going to see, because who would have guessed if I had you on 2 weeks ago, nobody would have mentioned the Supreme Court.
Right.
Right. Who knows what the next crazy issue will be?
There will be one.
Yep, there will.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Skye.
you for having me.
Thank
Tony.
you.
They were
Thank
terrific.
you.
They didn't get nasty. They didn't call names. Now they will once they're off camera. Thank you very much, and we'll be back with you shortly.